This is the third and final part in the series of how to handle customer inquiries in DMs. We're using DMs to refer to any kind of direct messaging that you receive, whether it's through Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever, or email. Well, the common thing that we're looking here is any kind of messaging that you receive, even a text message that says how much for XYZ, how much for ABC. We're going to refer to that as a direct message. And there's no need to go over the principles that we established in videos 1 and 2, just to keep this video short. But if you have watched the prior video, that's the video where we talked about qualification questions. What we're trying to establish is a couple of things when we ask qualifying questions. That number one, we're talking to the right person who can negotiate with all these things, negotiate with us, negotiate price and other deliverables. We want to be sure we're speaking to the right person, because there's no point in speaking to someone who claims that they are calling on behalf of some other person if at the end of the day the other person can just come in and say, no, we're not going to honor this deal. The person was just fishing around. I want to come in and negotiate directly on my own behalf. And then we also ask all these questions to be sure that we have the inventory, or that we have the capacity or skill set to meet the needs that the person has. So in the previous video, the example I gave was that of a wedding photographer. You want to be sure that they want the style of wedding photography that you're comfortable with, and the kind of the retouching and all the other aesthetics, just to be sure that you can deliver. Because let's say you are a photographer who likes to keep things nice and natural, but then this bride wants things to be severely airbrushed and she wants a much more high-end, sophisticated kind of wedding photography. If you go ahead and you collect her 300,000 or her 500,000 and you guys go ahead, you're going to run into a whole lot of trouble at the end of the day, because technically speaking, you're going to deliver photos that are good. Everybody will say it's good, but because you lack the capacity or the skill to deliver the kind of photographs that she wants, she's going to be very unhappy. And you're going to end up in a quarrel where that needn't have been the case. So now let's assume at this point that we are speaking to the right person. We're speaking to the bride, and we have the skill set to deliver what it is that the person needs. And of course, these principles apply. It doesn't have to be wedding photography related. Whether you sell shrimps or you sell shea butter, the process is the same. So the next set of questions are discovery questions. We want to find out whether this is a problem worth spending money over. Because in my own experience as a wedding photographer, I have found that there are some brides who don't value wedding photography or wedding videography. And if they don't, you're spending a lot of time negotiating with them when actually it's not really a real problem, because you're trying to get them to spend 300k or 500k with you, but really for them it's not a huge problem. They don't care. If they were to get any regular person to do it for 100k or 120k, they wouldn't have any problem at all. So you're trying to figure out, is this a problem worth spending money over? How bad do they think the problem is? Because some people don't care about that. There's some people that will spend any amount of money to get a dress, but then for wedding photography, that's not a problem. There's some other people who are going to spend any amount to get the right venue or the right food, but then they don't worry about different other items when it comes to planning weddings. So we have to figure out, is this really a big problem? Is this a nice to have? Is this something that they must have? Things like that. We also need to ask questions on delivery timelines. So in the wedding photographer example, for instance, when are they heading off for the honeymoon? Where are you going to send the album and the frames to? Because these things affect your cost. It could be an Abuja wedding, but maybe the couple wants to leave for Lagos 3 days after the wedding, and they expect that you're going to send the album to them in Lagos. Now that's some extra money in DHL because of delivery, DHL or ABC. Even if you use ABC, that's still going to be extra money. Even if it's only going to be 7k, that's 7k that you didn't expect to spend out of the money that you have collected. We also need to figure out critical execution points. Okay, well, that's kind of like the same thing. In this case, since we're talking about timelines, when do they want this, when do they want that, we have to be sure that we can deliver on all these things that we're promising. So that is what discovery questions are. Discovery questions are just getting much more detailed and keying into all the nitty-gritty of the problems that we're trying to solve right here. Now, if we go through this process in a fairly competent manner, we're talking to the right person, we have the skill set to deliver what it is that they want, and we know exactly what it is that they need around timelines and delivery, what's critical to them, what's important to them. Now we have all the parameters to start negotiating. So like I said in the wedding photographer example, now you know that you're talking to the bride and that for her wedding photography is important, and that you guys have the skills to deliver the kind of photography that she needs. It is then that you guys can start the discussions of, okay, since this is 2 days or 3 days and you want an album and it has to be delivered in Lagos, we'll do this for X amount or Y amount or Z amount. Traditionally, some sales trainers will say that you give them three options in this case. They say, okay, madam, with all that we've discussed, we can do it for this price, the gold package, this price, the silver package, this price, the bronze package, or whatever. But basically, the process is option A, option B, option C, and this is what we should be able to deliver for you. So, which of these options do you prefer? Now, there's a critical assumption that I'm making here. Uh, Okay, well, not an assumption per se, but it depends. How you handle these conversations depends on whether you're involved in a simple sale or whether you are involved in a complex sale. That is what determines how much conversations that you have to go into. Because of course, if you sell a goosey in the market, then running discovery questions or qualification questions, all that is overkill, and that's beside the point. Because the person is going to say, look, guy, I just came here to buy a goosey. Do you have the quantity of a goosey that I need or not? And if you do, how much? Let me pay and let me go. That's a simple sale. But in future videos, we can talk about complex sales. And obviously, in complex sales, that's where we'd have to go into more of these details with discovery questions and qualification questions. That's depending on how complex the situation we're talking about. So let's say, for instance, if you're a wedding photographer or if you're selling a car, you have to go into all this. But if you sell a goosey, there's no need to go into all this. If you're selling a goosey or ugu in the market, all this is overkill. If you sell bags of rice in the market, all this is overkill. So yeah, that's it. If there are any more questions, you can respond just like the person did on Nairaland. You can respond in the comments, and I'll get back to you if the answer is going to involve any more complex explanations or any more talking. I'll just make another video and throw it up here. So thank you very much, guys, for watching, and don't worry, it's been used to the YouTube shorts that I've been making. The next videos that we make after this are going to be the typical short ones, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute tops. These long videos will only be in response to questions that people have.